So every year at Cannes, there are a few themes that seem to dominate the Beat TV stage, at least. 2 years ago, it was CTV and clean rooms. Last year, it was retail media with a little bit of AI. And this year, it's all AI everything. So this conversation is a little bit of a trifecta because I think we can cover all three. So let's get into it, starting with Frederick. So Frederick, LiveRamp sits at the center of so much of the data collaboration in our industry. As Andy said, data is the oil. How is AI changing not just the data that can be shared, but how people are working together to share it?
Yeah, so I think there's a really simple answer to this, is we're actually using AI to simplify the way that actually data is being made ready for consumption. And so here, when we think about the different process from having the data, getting it ready for analytics, and then kind of driving outcome, all of this is actually kind of going through a specific workflow that was mainly supported by data engineers, data scientists. And so we actually here kind of see a much faster time to actually get that ready and getting the insights, all kind of the data ready for all of our analytics agent to actually kind of go and pick it up.
I think we're going to talk about the workflow a little bit later too, but it sounds like there's AI on the front end, there's AI in the messy middle, and then there's also AI on the analytics end. So Mike, it's about a year into your role at United, where you helped launch the industry's first kind of airline media network. How does AI change the game for connective media from a data standpoint, whether that's unlocking customer insights, communicating with your customers, or just providing more value overall?
So similar to what Fred was doing from the front, middle, and back end, there's multiple use cases when we think about AI on our end. We think about when passengers are asking questions, like we use AI to curate answers, like where's the best food in Tokyo? What's the best thing to do at the beach, right? And then that AI helps curate based on what we know about the customer and the actual activity. In the future, we're going to look at travel past and travel history to curate on a more personalized basis. We think about accessibility, right? AI helping with the creation of audio articles for those who may be blind. And then in the back end, it is like from the collaboration standpoint, it's the opportunity for us to essentially make outcomes more efficient, right? We talk about the table stakes of audience overlap or things that the clean rooms do, but it's that efficiency that happens with the intelligence and the insights that you can extract from that data, applying it to past use cases, applying it to specific situations, and really helping us come out with outcomes from that data that will benefit the partner, the traveler, and all the various use cases there.
I did not expect to hear you say that you were going to use AI to help kind of translate, to help make content more accessible. That is not something that I've heard at all, which is innovative and new. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So, John, let's talk about the buy side. Your team builds media analytics agents that are specifically trained for advertising workflows. What's the difference between using ChatGPT, versus a specialized agent when it comes to how brands and agencies need to leverage data?
Sure. So ChatGPT and its competitive set are certainly pretty magical. They do a lot of things really well. I'm sure we all use them on a daily basis. But they're not trained on the media industry. And I love it when I'm going into a prospective customer and they've tried to use ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or any of that competitive set to do media analytics. Because it means, one, they're interested in using AI for that. And two, they're probably very disappointed with what they're getting. And so we show up with agents that are specifically trained on our industry. I like to make the analogy, would you hire a data scientist if they said, yeah, I learned everything I needed to know about media analytics from scraping the open web? And that's basically what you're getting with a generic chatbot, right? So what we do that's different is we are training our agents on our industry, so that when our agents are deployed within your environment, they come with what feels like 7-8 years of media analytics experience.
I saw an article today that was like, it's in the name, LLM, a large language model. It's designed to ingest language. It's not designed to ingest numbers or know what to do with numbers,
Exactly.
And that's an interesting thing. Tom, I have a question for you, but it comes after this next one, but this is for everyone. So, drilling down into clean rooms a little bit, they emerged as a solution in our industry to help different parties work with different data sets in a privacy compliant way. But they also introduced another layer of complexity and costs in terms of tech and staffing. So is AI helping companies drive more utility from clean rooms? And does it help justify the extra cost that sometimes comes with working with a clean room? This is for anybody.
So human-fueled, AI executed, right? The AI is only as good as the inputs that we give it. And so with the expectation of simply asking AI to come up with a solution for a diverse set of data, you're not going to get the best results. It's the ability to have the right prompts, the right cues, set the right environment per se, in which you could then model, right? And it's a constant model and iteration, model, iteration, model, iteration. And from there, that's the efficiency that, what would take 1,000 people could take up, 15, 20 minutes now, depending how good you model.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when we think about data collaboration, like two entities or two companies will have different data sets, different taxonomies for those data sets, then you actually need to go through the process of normalizing the data across all the different partners to make sure that there is a common schema. Once you have a common schema, then make sure that the query is actually running to get the analytics you want, all working out. All of those steps were actually requiring a heavy data science resource. So when you think about media, a media buyer or anybody in the media industry doesn't necessarily have the skills and was relying on IT, now you decrease the reliance on IT, faster go-to-market. So from a value standpoint, it's actually much greater.
So the AI helps the teams work with the clean rooms better. And one of the things that I constantly heard from the agencies is, I need a clean room for my clean room, or I need my clean room to talk to each other, and then the effort that it takes to get that going. So it sounds like, Fred, that people are using AI to drive some of that cost down.
Yeah, I was going to add, back at Ramp Up, LiveRamp announced that Newton's agents were trained on the LiveRamp clean room, which is pretty awesome. We're super excited about it. So time to value with a clean room is often a challenge. You set it up, you put the work into it, and you want to get value out of it right away. So we've trained our agents to understand the LiveRamp clean room API and understand what queries are allowed and understand what data is in the clean room. So you can ask our agent, based upon what's allowed, what sort of analytics can I do? And it understands what queries are allowed, and it could chain those together in order to solve actual business problems. So we're certainly very excited about that partnership.
Tom, over to you now. So let's talk about the practical reality of implementation. You focus on enterprise partnerships that do things like this, that help companies use different data sets and collaborate. But when organizations want to do these big scale AI collaborations, what are some of the biggest infrastructure and integration challenges that they face?
I think building off something that Mike said, one of the biggest sort of initial hurdles is your data might be sitting in so many different systems of record, and the inputs that you're feeding the model are really what make the model intelligent and usable. And so, nice working at Microsoft, where we're not just a media business, we're a cloud business, we're an infrastructure business, we're an ad tech business. A lot of the early work is helping customers bring their data set together into a common unified foundation, cleanse it, and then you can put models on top of it and make it usable and actually start to extract value and business insights from it. So one is just getting your data in your house in order. You can point models at, skinny little pools of data that you can get some value from, but how do you help somebody actually learn all of the rich sort of goods they're sitting on? That's sort of step one. From there, it's figuring out in the value chain from media planning to insights to activation, where are the right places to deploy agents? And I think companies like LiveRamp are, finding some standardization of those use cases and making it easier for us to go out and collaborate. But it's where sort of in all of these different hops and steps along the way does an agent exist, or does it need to, sort of sit to add value?
So as AI handles more of these complex analytics and workflows, Mike, you talked about the balance between human and AI. How do you balance the speed and efficiency and the gains that you get from automation with the human oversight, particularly when it comes to sharing sensitive data or not? How do you decide when the human makes the decision or when the bot makes or the agent makes the decision?
I mean, it's an art form when it comes down to it, and you have to have recognition in terms of what you're inputting into the model. Right? Within my role, we create frameworks for partnerships. We can use AI to help with the research. We can help AI to use the structure. We can help AI in terms of just the overall presentation. But we have to be very sensitive in terms of if we're inputting revenue information. Like, there's numbers are never put in. Like, it's more from a construct standpoint. Here's the idea that we're going for, right? And then let's build across that. Look at the output, understand, okay, well, here's what we want to focus on. We want to focus on a loyalty partnership. We want to focus on media. We want to focus on wherever the case may be. It's extracting those insights and modeling to the point where you get, think of like a color by numbers, right? You know it's going to be a giraffe at some point, but as you color those numbers in more and more, it becomes more delicate that it's actually an abstract giraffe instead of like a standard one. And that's what we try and do. And so there's learning. But again, human behavior is by far the gatekeeper to ensuring that it is something that has of good use. Or like anything else, you feed it bad information or information it shouldn't have, then you've essentially created a problem for yourself.
Tom, were you going to jump in? No? So then I think one of the questions I have is then, can an AI replace a lawyer? Because and I'm saying that a little bit facetiously, but one of the things that I've also heard, though, is when you work on a data partnership deal, sometimes it can take months to get through the red tape. It can, how can we use this data? Where is it coming from? How do we protect it? Does AI factor into kind of just the execution of the partnership?
That's a big question. No, but the interesting thing is, so actually we did a session last week with about 25 of our customers, and the key thing was actually data privacy and the implication for the product and for the legal teams. Right. And I think when you kind of look at the legal teams, a lot of those kind of back and forth is just kind of a non-understanding of what the input and what the output is going to be for those data collaborations per se. And so they want to actually kind of have a certain level of certainty and security built into the contracts. And so to your point around AI here, if you think about a lawyer kind of asking questions around on the chatbot around like what is actually happening, what are the things that they should actually kind of be on the look for, that might actually kind of create a certain level of security in how they actually approach it. And this will kind of realize a certain gains, I think, on the time of contracting between the two parties.
So to make a deal sort of like, Mike, I'm not going to ask you to tell us specific things, but United has a bunch of different partnerships. I'm sure that they don't happen instantly, right?
No, these are 12 to 18-month deal cycles. And so, as part of the research, we'll look at earnings reports. We'll look at strategic initiatives for the individual partnership. And then, within the model, you can frame it from the point of view of, right? And even to the legal piece, from the point of view of a lawyer or counsel, how would you position this? From the point of view of if I'm meeting with a C-level team, right? Ensuring that the level of detail, the level of information, right? There's certain levels based on the audience you have, and certain amounts of information you want to disclose. And many a time, we were doing a hotel partnership, and within the model, it output essentially the initiative of that hotel. And then from my perspective, I could sort of fill in all the blanks in terms of what our offerings were and how to actually complement those individual strategies. Then through iteration, just come up with it from the United product suite, from the connective media product suite, and how that relates to what the individual hotel's product suite was, right? More rooms, more users, whatever the case may be. And, 25 minutes later, I started with, well, let's think about this. And I had a framework that was comprehensive of every single strategic goal that individual partner had.
And you couldn't do that before without AI?
It would take a lot of research. It could, but that's a day or two's worth of work, whereas it's a half hour now.
That's interesting to your question earlier, based on what you say. It's like all the preparation work actually happens with AI, but then all the forward-thinking work is actually kind of happening with you, right? Because they don't know about it.
Right.
So
We put the polishing touches on it, right?
So looking ahead, are we moving towards a world where most companies, and this is brands, tech companies, whatever, where they build their own AI capabilities in-house, or do they work with someone like John's custom agents? Or is it, I'm sure you're going to be like, it's on a case-by-case basis, but how do you determine that case?
I'm certainly happy to hop in. I think they're all going to work with us. It's fait accompli. No, so we bump into a lot of teams that are building stuff, and sometimes we have to circle back, in a few months, after they've learned that the particular things that we do are quite hard to build. And so we're very successful when we bump into a customer that's experimenting with building the sorts of agents that we build. There's some agents that are very easy to build. That's awesome. The agents that we're building are more like data scientist agents, and they're complicated. They think in terms of code. They're doing a lot of math. Those things are tricky to build. We provide them to other folks who have agentic platforms. So if you're a big agency and you're building your own agentic platform, we're happy to let your agents talk to our agents, right? And there are protocols that are being developed for exactly that. And so our mission is very simple, and it's build the best of breed media analytics agents. And that's what we stick to. That's what we're building. If folks want to build agents around that, awesome. But yeah, I think there's going to be a mixture of build versus buy. But for things that are very specific, you're going to want to have the best of breed.
Tom or Fred or Mike, any thoughts on that?
Just like jumping off of that, right? Like I think it depends on the use case and the level of sophistication you're talking about, and also where you are in that journey of media analytics, sort of along the spectrum. So we were just talking about, and I can say this because I don't sell Microsoft Outlook, right? You know, like it's not the greatest tools, right? But like we have agents built in, you know, Microsoft Teams, Outlook, Power BI. That's like really helping marketers become more efficient with their workflow, but it's not doing half of the work of what John is doing with customized agents that are bespoke and sit at sort of that chip level. And then you sort of move into like the consumer experience, right? Like we just launched our first version of sort of out-of-the-box brand agents that can sit on publisher websites, personalize the consumer experience, but that might not fit the needs of United Airlines that needs to build something that's really bespoke and integrated with their workflow and their properties. So I think, you know, different levels of spectrum, there will always be a need for build with versus sort of buy or rent solutions, but it sort of depends.
So the last question is for everyone. Each of you must answer. We're here at Cannes celebrating creativity, obviously, but the collaboration opportunities we just talked about are extremely technical. So can you each share one example of how an AI-powered data collaboration can enhance creative possibilities, whether that's like it's something you've seen, something your company is working on, or something even that like you hope to see come to fruition?
Sure. So from a partnership standpoint, this is a constant for us. And, you know, you make fun of the overlap analysis because that's the table stakes of collaboration. But when it comes down to it, that's your starting point. And so from a program standpoint, right, we have silver, gold, platinum, 1KGS. We have inputs from, you know, media, from behaviors. When we think about partnerships with other brands, we can understand, you know, from a conquesting standpoint, what is the potential for you to increase usership within that partner, and vice versa for us. When we think about behaviors, right, the business class traveler versus the leisure traveler, what are the programs and opportunities you can put in front of them? What demographics and audiences can you extract to understand beyond just the opportunity of what a table stakes offering is to create something compelling? When you build with a partner, how do you build in terms of what opportunity is versus what your product set looks like today? And the joy of my job is a constant innovation. Right? Some days are more clear than others, but when you have that attitude with the partner to build together, that's when you put products out and you show the benefit of being a Mileage Plus partner, benefit of being, you know, whether it's a Bonvoy member, right, or whoever it may be, and it's that surprise and delight and the experiences that money can't buy that you've curated based on the insight you've had through the automation AI extraction that you've put in market that no one else can match.
So you're using it to create these custom, sort of personalized travel experiences, which is very cool.
Audiences, you know, it's a starting point, right? And again, that's where the human touch comes at the end of like, oh, well, here's an insight. What do we do from there, right? And it's not upon me exclusively, rather the partner may have ideas as well. And so that's the fun of it.
John, Fred, or Tom?
I'll go.
Yes.
So thinking about we have one customer that's actually using AI to actually kind of go and build creatives. Mm-hmm. Today, they've got about 10,000 creatives that they're running on 25,000 placements. The scale is just kind of amazing there. And so I'm saying that because now you're thinking about the segmentation, and how you would actually kind of go and put the creative in front of the right persona. And you're thinking also around data collaboration, around now getting real-time signals to actually kind of go and inform that segmentation. And so if you think about like an example, I'll just kind of go and take a significant thing that happened in France about 2 weeks ago. Like Paris Saint-Germain won the Champions League, so that was a pretty big thing. and the main sponsor was Air Jordan. So if at that time you are in this moment where you would want to go and purchase something in real time potentially. So can you actually kind of go and take that signals of that PhD winning, informing kind of a segmentation at the campaign level for Nike, and then Nike can actually kind of go and deliver you kind of a right product for you to go and buy based on your affiliation and demographics. Could be quite amazing.
So kind of finally the fulfillment of like, we've been saying this for 15 years, right ad, right person, right time, but like actually finally fulfilling that with AI. And John or Tom?
Sure, I'll hop in. So I'm simple. Creative creates more signals. When there's a ton of creative, it creates a ton of more signals, and it's more stuff for us to do analytics on. So I love it. We support it. We help with stuff like A/B tests, match market tests, all of that.
And last but not least.
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm focused on the consumer unlock. So, we in Copilot, which is our answer to ChatGPT, we just announced sort of 2 new features. One is memory, so your Copilot agent remembering that you prefer to fly United. The second being actions, which is the collaboration or handoff of I'm searching for a flight, and my agent can actually go and book my tickets on booking.com. So we've started to actually integrate partners for the agent to go help consumers be more productive. I think we're just kind of getting started there.
I mean, that's a whole, we don't have time for this, but what happens if the agents talk to each other and they say the wrong things? Like what if my booking.com agent doesn't understand that I only want to stay at a 5-star hotel and then it books me somewhere bad? Like how do you, I mean, that's...
You're going to live a new experience.
Thank you all so much for your conversation. Let's give them a round of applause.